What's up guys, today I'm going to show you how I use a router sled to flatten slabs. So I have two nice pieces of wood here. I actually picked them up for free. They have some recently chopped down trees in the park close to my house, and they had some 4 to 6 inch stumps left over. The plan is to flatten these guys out and turn them into end tables, which you'll see in an upcoming video. To flatten my slabs I use something called a router sled. I made mine from a few scraps I had lying around, some 3/4 inch plywood and some 2x4s. The 2x4s act as rails for the sled to slide on, and the sled is made of 1/8 inch L-shaped aluminum, and the router slides back and forth along that. You can make your sled as big or small as you want, depending on the size of the slab you're flattening. Mine's 3 feet by 4 feet. I find this works well for just about everything. I use metal for the sled, as it doesn't bend very easily and gives you a more consistent depth of cut. I use wood for the rails, that way if I accidentally hit them with the router bit, I won't damage it. So after measuring the height of these pieces of wood, I realized that my sled wasn't high enough, so I switched them out for some 2x6s. It's a pretty simple process. I use 2 and 2.5 inch wood screws to fasten everything together. I flip the platform upside down, screw everything in from the bottom. Since my sled is 36 inches long, I make sure that the rails sit 35 3/4 inches in width. This ensures that the sled will slide along them easily. The last thing to do before starting is secure the piece of wood. Screws work fine for this, but make sure they're lower than the lowest point you intend to flatten so your router bit won't hit them. I prefer to use some scrap cutoffs. I put one down and then I slide the piece of wood tight up next to it. Then I use another 1 or 2 pieces of scrap to secure it so it won't shift around. It's also a good idea to shim your wood during this process. Basically, you don't want the piece of wood moving at all until you're ready to flip it. The bit I'm using is called a flute bit. You can buy bits specifically designed for this type of work, but they can be quite pricey. They're more or less the same thing as this, but they can come up to 2 inches wide. What I do is I find the high point and cut down 1/4 inch at a time. If I'm taking an inch or more off the total thickness, I'll usually go a bit quicker on the first few passes. This leaves a rougher, less smooth surface. Once I get down to my final pass, I take the time and go extremely slowly, ensuring that the router bit doesn't skip. To ensure that I get a consistent depth of cut, I make sure that I don't put any downward pressure on the router. I simply let the weight of the router and the bit do the work, and I just push or pull the router along the tracks. Once you're done one side, flip it over and do the other. It's a long and slow process, so make sure you're wearing proper eye protection as well as a mask. Lungs full of sawdust are not fun, trust me. Also, patience is key. If you're on your finishing pass and you accidentally screw it up, there's nothing to do but resurface the entire thing. There's no way to hide your mistakes. Once you finish both sides, you're basically done. You just need to store it in a dry environment for a few days. I leave mine sitting on a few scraps of wood so it can air out from both sides. If you don't do this, you can have a moisture imbalance and you'll get some sort of warping or cupping. After a few days, you're good to take the belt sander to it and finish it off. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, feel free to subscribe. It really helps out a young channel like mine grow a lot quicker. I'll be building the slab into a table soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.
Would say looking good, but I can't see it under all the wood chips. Are you gonna do both today?